Now, I think the commercial is playing.
Yeah. She's on her way, on her way, on her way. Polish, refine and reshape, reshape. In the heart you wait. Don't wait, don't hesitate. Here we go.
Mute. I don't was playing. I'm not sure. Listen, if you guys can hear me, just give me a little shout out. Let me know that you can hear me. Hello, welcome Facebook, welcome YouTube, hello to Twitter and LinkedIn, because we are broadcasting everywhere. And hey, everybody over in Instagram land, I'm so happy that you're joining me for this part 2 conversation, but I'm gonna need you to let me know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Because I want to make sure that nobody misses a beat. So as I was saying to Instagram a few minutes ago, family, my boo is back. My boo thing is back. And I get to act a little silly with him because it's been 2 whole weeks, 2 whole hardcore pressed weeks away from my boo. Now, lots of things got done because you know how wives do. We just get things done, but I missed him. And so I always say it's good when you go away because I love missing you. You know, absence makes the heart grow fonder because, you know, if you know what it feels like to work with your spouse, somebody say, we get it. And I understand in the chat, it's a thing. You know, you're working together all the time. So when they go away, it's like, oh my God. Oh, wow, I got to adjust. So I'm so happy that he's back in the building, y'all. We just celebrated 21 years married. That's worthy of some kind of applause, some snaps, something. 21 years is no joke. That's 7 3 times. Like, that's no joke. So we've been through some things. We've been up and we've been down. And the reason for this conversation, why we're starting V Life off talking about what is a wife, because there's just been so much confusion about what does it mean to be a wife. I mean, similar to gender confusion. Now we're saying, what is a woman? So if we're asking what is a woman, then maybe somebody's asking what is a wife, because we've gotten so many mixed messages. Now, last week, we did a quick 30-minute, and then my husband was just like, you know, you don't have to do 30 minutes. You could go long. And I'm like, oh, yeah. So I'm going to take my time tonight, and y'all can stick around. Hopefully you will stick around and you'll learn something. You'll pick up some nuggets from somebody who's been around a few years now. I can say 21 years is solid. I can tell you some things about being a wife. I can tell you some things that had me drop in a pit. I can tell you how I climbed out of that pit. Maybe I clawed out of the pit, but I got out of that pit and I was able to see clearly what it is that I need to do to be successful as a wife, because nobody does anything because they want to fail, right? So last week we really just laid a foundation about, you know, this whole confusion that we have surrounding what it means to be a wife. And I want to just go through my teaching notes and make sure you don't miss a beat about what this is, because it's confusing. There's a lot of confusion out here about what does it mean to be a wife, you know, and there's been this defragmentation that takes place. And the defragmentation is all the files, all the data coming in from all different places. You know, I'm gathering some information from my mother. I'm gathering some information from the media, from television, from my girlfriends. I'm gathering all this stuff, you know, from corporate, from my work, from my career, from college, all these things. And I'm trying to make sense of it. And it's just too much information, and it's clouding my judgment, and it's clogging my mind. And I just really don't know which way to go. So I just go whatever way I can. Right. And so we're going to defragment this, and we're going to reorganize the facts and get to the truth. And then we're going to do away with things that are no longer serving us. I think the toxic femininity has been a big discussion lately. And I think it's a little twisted because, you know, we are taught by media and by what comes into our eye gates that we're supposed to be sexy and coquettish, and we're supposed to lure and attract. But there's so much more to us than that. There's so much more to us than my hips, my lips, and my fingertips. There's so much more to me than that. God has a plan. He ordained marriage. So last week we talked about, number one, we are helpers. And I want to jump into these points because I really want to go a little bit deeper. We are the helper, and we talked about the Etzer Kenegdu. The Etzer, which is the helper. The helper is a rescuer. The helper is a savior type. The helper is a strength, someone that stands beside her husband and helps. And God said that it was not good for man to be alone. So he created Eve, the suitable helper, to come in and stand beside Adam. But number two, I think, is powerful. A wife is an equal partner. And I think it goes right along with that whole idea of us being a helper, because I am more than just I'm not just sweeping the floor, y'all. Like, this wife thing is deep. I'm an equal partner. And that speaks to the word kenegdu, where it talks about we are suitable and corresponding. So anytime you read the scripture and you hear these words, you sometimes you're like, okay, well, what does that specifically mean? You want to go deeper. You want to get out the thesaurus and the dictionary and really get a deeper understanding of what did it mean when it said corresponding. And so the definition of corresponding is equivalent in character, form, or function. It's comparable. Right? So I'm equivalent in character, in form, and function. Okay. So that means that I'm not less than. And I think a lot of times wives feel as though this whole idea of being a helper is weak. That's not what the scripture says, right? We are not weak. We are actually equal in character, equal in form, equal in function. And it goes on to say that if one thing corresponds to another, there is a close similarity or connection between them. So you can see how specific that word was when it was used. We are a match. So I started thinking about corresponding and how things correspond to each other. And I was thinking about a jockey, if you know about racing, which I don't know much about racing, but I know that the guy that gets on the horse is called a jockey. And the jockey is paired or corresponds to a horse, right? And so the jockey gets on the horse and rides the horse a certain kind of way so that the horse rides a certain type of stride, picks up a certain kind of pace, and is flying around that track to the victory, right? But if you remove the jockey from the horse, then you just have a jockey and you just have a horse. You have no race, right? There's nothing to win, right? You just have a jockey that has no purpose. You have a horse that has no plan. And so you can see how things corresponding to each other, it's important, it's powerful, it's absolutely necessary. And there are more things that I looked up that correspond, which I thought was interesting, because when you start thinking about these things, all of a sudden God will illuminate a lot of things that correspond to each other. In other words, they need each other, like a key and a lock. If you think about a key, without a key, the lock remains closed without a key, right? If you don't have that key, that lock ain't going nowhere. At the same time, if you don't have a lock there, or the lock without the key has no purpose, right? What is the point of it being locked if there's no key to open it? What is the point of the key if there's no lock to unlock? So it corresponds. Another powerful one that came to mind was a bow and arrow. You think about a bow and arrow, which is a fierce and deadly weapon, right? And if you were to take that bow and pull it through, or take that arrow and pull it through the bow, you get all this tightness, and then you can release it and it shoots to the target and it can pierce through any enemy, right? But try taking that arrow and just throwing it. Think about that. Just like imagine that in your mind's eye. Like you just picked up the bow and you just pulled, you threw it with all your might. I don't care how strong you are. I don't care if you did track and field. You are not going to be able to throw that arrow at the speed and precision that you would if you had the bow. So without the bow, what good is the arrow, right? Without the arrow, the bow is useless. You just throw it. It's not even a threat. The bow is not a threat, okay, without the arrow. And then you think about age-old adage. I know that there ain't nothing in the Bible that says that, yeah, the man's the head, but the woman's the neck. That's not in the Bible. That ain't written nowhere. But you can see the correlation. You can see how the head and the neck correspond to one another, right? Because the head contains the brain, which is thinking, right? That means that's the vision and the plan and everything, the purpose. But of course, the neck attached to the head, without that neck, number one, you can't look left, you can't look right, you can't see the enemies coming. That's one thing you can't do. And also the neck provides the life source. The neck provides the blood and oxygen to the brain so the brain can think. So God is deep when you start to look at what he's saying here, that we are designed a specific way. There is nothing God is doing without purpose and plan in it. I, as a wife, I correspond to my husband. I'm not less than, I'm an equal partner standing beside him. We are different, right? We have different giftings. We have different purposes in the function of our relationship, right? or different jobs and responsibilities as it correlates to our relationship, but we are equal. Neither is greater or less than. And that's something to be said, because it really frustrates me when I see there's a lot of memes and videos out here that attack manhood. As a matter of fact, I think there's a whole agenda like about attacking manhood right now. And the sad part of it is that, you know, it's trying to elevate women. It's trying to empower us. We're strong. We can do everything. I'm every woman, you know, it's all in me. Like, okay, yes, that's true. We could do it all. We really can. Hands behind our back, blindfold on, we could do it all. But there is this degrading that is taking place that's attacking manhood, that is buffoonizing men. And you'll see these videos where, you know, they're comparing what the woman does to the man, and they're showing how the woman is more efficient than the man. And they're never highlighting the man's perspective. They're never highlighting his power, his strength, and his role. They're only diminishing the weaknesses and elevating and escalating the woman's strengths. And the issue with that, from my perspective, is that honestly, women, do we need any more female empowerment? Like, do we need any more? I mean, women are strong. We know, we've heard enough. We get it. Okay. But at the same time, there is a strength in the pair. There is a strength in the order that God has established. And we've got to start to filter out the confusion and the foolishness out here that is leading us to rebellion. And it's not just rebellion against our spouse, but yes, it's that too. It's actually rebellion against God, his authority, his original order, and his plan. That's where the real rebellion comes in, right? If I can disrespect my spouse or disrespect manhood, diminish it to uselessness, what does that do to society? An orderless society is chaotic. It's anarchy. So we have to do better. So that's number 2. A wife is an equal pair, and it's speaking to our synergy when we're moving as one. And that is the goal. Okay, that is a goal. Put it on your goal list. I need to move as one with my husband. Okay, we ain't here to talk about the husbands or talk to the husbands. We're here to talk to wives. We're here for us, but that's on the goal list. How do I move synergistically with my spouse? How do I do that? Okay, now let's talk about number 3, which I love. A wives, we are a crown. We are a crown, okay? So the scripture says an excellent wife is the crown of her husband, but she who causes shame is like rottenness in his bones. Now, like words like that, like, because I'm so analytical, when I hear stuff like that, it takes me to a place. I'm like, rottenness in the bones? Oh my goodness. Let's read that again. An excellent wife is a crown of her husband, but she who causes shame is like rottenness in his bones. And when I think about that, it makes me think about like osteoporosis or bone cancer or something like that, right? Rottenness to the bones. It says it's likened to it. And when you think about rottenness to the bones, it's like weakness. You know, it's like bones that are crumbly. You know, there's no more strength in them. They're brittle bones. You know, that right there, no more strength in them. So when we as wives rebel, when we cause shame, and I'm going to talk about the ways that we could cause shame. When we cause shame, we weaken this union that God has established. His plan for us is to be strong. Like, we're supposed to be fierce. We're supposed to be a power couple. We're supposed to be a force to be reckoned with as one. But if the wife is out of order, if I'm over here like, oh, all the single ladies, like, I got a ring on. What am I doing talking about all the single ladies? Like, if I'm over here rebelling and trying to operate outside of my season, based on what I'm seeing on television, based on what I'm watching on TikTok and scrolling on Instagram, if I'm trying to keep up with the Joneses, if I'm trying to emulate an image that models what the world is presented to us as gold standard, I can become a shame to my marriage, to my husband, Now I'm operating in opposition because I haven't understood my place and my role and my authority in that place and in that role. See, it's exciting when you start thinking about like that. Like, I have authority in my role. I have power, passion, and purpose in my role. You mean I'm supposed to be a power in this union? Yes. That's what God says. You're supposed to be a crown. You're not supposed to be brittleness and weakness to your husband. You're not supposed to bring shame. And we bring shame in all kinds of ways. And I know somebody might be thinking, and I haven't checked the chats yet, and I'm going to because I want to say hello to everybody. But I know some of y'all might be thinking, well, what about him? What about him? What about him? What about him? What about neck is rolling? See, you're wrong already because your neck is rolling. What about him? Like, we're not here about him. God is not going to say when you reach the pearly gates of heaven, he's not going to say to you, did you do what your husband was supposed to do? No, he's going to say, did you do what I called you to do? Were you obedient? Did you hold the mantle? Were you the woman I called you to be? Were you the strength in your marriage you were supposed to be? Did you speak life and not death? Did you carry and help birth the vision? Don't get yourself in trouble. Don't get yourself in trouble being out of order because it was you who signed up. You signed up. You the one that said, marry me. He better put a ring on it. And he put a ring on it. Now you're married. And now it's time to take up your mat and walk. Walk this walk, wife. There's a walk. And it's a dignified, strong walk. It's not some piddly, poor, sad, lowly walk. Oh, no. It's a strength walk. And trust and believe. He's thought of everything. Everything that you're thinking, every negative thought you're thinking, God has thought of it. Okay. And there is a way to turn the whole situation around when you, as the wife, get in your rightful position. So I'm going to take a quick break. I know this is a live show, but I'm going to show my little commercials and I'm going to be right back. So stick with me. I'll see you in just a second.
Welcome to the Couples Academy app. The Couples Academy app is your go-to hub for how to do marriage right. Get started with our app today by perusing our amazing features that conveniently allow you to connect. This app is packed with powerful content and resources to help you grow and stay connected. With this app, you can watch our messages, find marriage resources, watch, listen, and read the real-life stories of restored couples, sign up for events, read articles and blog posts, stay up to date with push notifications, share your favorite messages via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or email, and download messages for offline listening. For more information about the Couples Academy app, go to couplesacademy.org.
Babe. Welcome back, everybody. This is V Life, and we're talking about what is a wife? What is a wife? So we want to get into a little bit more of this. The wife is the crown. So anytime you hear anything about the crown in the Bible, it's interesting. It's in such a wonderful and opulent way. So again, the word is so intentional in the things that it says, and you can get so much out of it by just going deep. Okay. So the word crown, it represents reward and righteousness. So there are several passages in the Bible in the New Testament that speak of that as the crown as an award. In 2 Timothy, it speaks to the crown of righteousness. Okay. Also, honor and majesty. Think about that. You know, we have kings and queens, and they are adorned with a crown, and that speaks to royalty and majesty. And so a crown is something to be, to behold, right? And then victory, right? Because when we win something, you get the championship crown. The victor is crowned. And so the crown is the crown on your husband's head is to represent his strength, right? Because it's the opposite of being rottenness to the bones. Now you are strength. You are regal. You are representing, and he is proud of you. And when your husband is proud of you, you become that Proverbs 31 woman, which I'm going to read because it's worthy of reading. And I'm going to try to get through it quick, but it's so worthy of reading. So listen up. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. She is like the merchant ships bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it is still night. She provides food for her family and portions for her female servants. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her tasks. She sees that her trading is profitable, and her lamp does not go out at night. In her hand, she holds the distaff and grasps the spindle with her fingers. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. She makes coverings for her bed. She is clothed in fine linen and purple. Her husband is respected at the city gates, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies the merchants with sashes. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Can the church say amen? She's a boss. She's a G. She ain't weak. She's strong. She's that girl. She's that girl. She's that wife. And that's the wife that you want to be. That's what you want to aspire to. And many of us exemplify that. Isn't that cool that you just heard a passage in the Bible that was talking about you, how you run, how you rule, how you manage, how you do things? That to me is amazing. So I can always aspire to be more and to be strong. And all of those things that were talked about in this Proverbs 31 woman, it was a blessing to her husband, but also a major blessing to her and to her children and to her children's children. So that's powerful. I just want to jump over here real quick. Hey, I want to say hello. Hey, millionaire. Hello. Hey, Angie. Good to see you. Hey, Carmen. Good to see you. So hello to everybody. Keep on tuning in. Let me jump into what a wife is. Number 4. A wife is a good thing. A good thing, y'all. Okay. Now we can break that down because I know you're good. I know you're good. Okay. But when God says that you're a good thing, that means something. He who finds a wife finds what is good and receives favor from the Lord. That's in Proverbs 18:22. And what is favor? I always want to know more. What exactly is favor? Okay. Because I know I'm good, and I know that there is favor because I'm in my husband's life, but who's given the favor? It's the favor of God. Okay, so the favor of God can be described as a divine kindness or an act of true compassion on the part of God himself towards needy and undeserving human recipients. That means that you're going to get blessed whether you deserve it or not. That's what favor means. You did not deserve it, but you're going to get blessed either way. That's favor. And so when you think about, oh, I'm that good thing, I'm the favor. So because you're married to me, the favor of God is on you. Well, what does that look like? Blessings and prosperity. blessings and prosperity. That's in Genesis 39:21, that you have the favor of the Lord and it manifests into material blessings. You have protection, divine protection. You have fulfillment of desires, godly desires, and wisdom and understanding, the blessings of the Lord. And that is you as a wife. And the cool thing is that not only are you blessing your husband just by being that wife, being that crown, being that help. I mean, man, you do the most. But in addition to that, you get blessed too. You know, there are many stories that I have of just how God has shown me over the years what it really means to be a wife. And one of the things that stands out to me is that, you know, in my earlier years, I was just doing the most to just find my place. You know, Hassani, when I met him, he was a speaker. And I would help him with his business. But I also had little children and we were working, and I worked in advertising and marketing and things of that nature. And we were just coming up, trying to get our lives together with 4 small children because they're all stair-stepped. And, you know, as they started getting up out of the way, I had this desire to make impact and to have more meaning. And so I launched my own business. I launched a business in marketing, and I would run $1 million campaigns launching brands on Facebook. Okay. Not Instagram, Facebook. Okay. That was what was going on then. And I was running from pillar to post. I mean, I was stressed, helping Hassani with the business, running my business, taking care of the kids, running from pillar to post and doing the most, so much to the point that my face started to contort and just like do things all on its own. Like I could not sleep at night. My mind was racing and racing and racing. I literally could not turn my mind off at night. Suddenly out of nowhere, pain just would hit me in the hip. I couldn't walk. I would go to the doctor to find out what was going on. The pain would move from my hip to my back. I just did not know what was going on. I was under so much stress. I was buried under the choices that I was making to be what I did not need to be. I was missing the purpose that was right in front of me, trying to go out in these streets and find some purpose that was outside of what was already in front of me, because I wanted a different significance. I wanted to build something on my own. Let me tell you something. It took a wake-up call where one day I was on my computer typing, going crazy, trying to get something done, trying to keep up with a deadline, trying to do the most, when my daughter, who was standing in front of me, probably talking to me for about 15 minutes, grabbed my face and was just like, "Mommy, I'm talking to you." And in that moment, I was shook to my core. I had no idea that my daughter was actually standing there having a conversation with me. And I knew that something needed to change. And that's when I launched Unearthed. And Unearthed is a program to help women who have this defragmented, decompartmentalized experience in life, whether it came from trauma, you know, betrayal, or whatever it is, put all the pieces back together and get back into their rightful position. And that's what this is all about. You know, we as wives, we are a good thing, but God, He hasn't left us out. He has good plan for us as well. He did not leave us out of the equation. Oh, so many wonderful things to talk about. We are righteous. We are righteous. Those of us that dial into the things of God, we find our peace there. We find our strength there. It turns a completely different page. It's insane. Once you really find out who you are in Him, it changes the trajectory for everything. Number five, we are industrious, okay? Now, I just read the Proverbs 31 woman, so I won't go reading it again, but it talks about the virtuous wife, how hardworking we are and how much we provide for our families. We are industrious. And so, you know how I was just talking about earlier, how society has perpetuated this notion that we are stronger than our husbands, we're better than our husbands, they're peons, they're idiotic, you know, like they can't get the simple things, you know. How is it that they can't go into the supermarket and find a can of collard greens? It's right there, you know. They minimize the strength of manhood and masculinity, and they maximize our strength because we have different strengths. You know, we have the strength of being able to be comparable, right? So we can go out there and work. We can go and pay these bills. We can pray. We can build things. Now, I'm not stronger than my husband, but I might be stronger than some other husbands. I can't arm wrestle him, but, we have these different compatibilities, but we also have different strengths, where my strength might be intuitiveness, right? There are many times when I will have an intuitiveness about something, and Hassani does not see that. And so I have to relay that to him. But when you're in partnership and your spouse is aware of who you are and what a wife actually is to them, then they can receive those details. They can receive that, and it makes us stronger together. Because guess what? When I impart something into my spouse, it actually fortifies our walls. It fortifies everything that we have going on. So it's not just about me. It's about us. It's not just about him. It's about us. But then what about them and their vision and all that they're bringing to the table? That stuff gets left to the side. But there's so much that God put in us. But there is an order. There is an order. We cannot overturn the authority and the plan of God, which takes me to 6, which is a wife is submissive. That's right. Shush, shh, and submit. Shush and submit. Now, I know somebody might be burning on the inside. You might be burning on the inside because submission has always been a cuss word in our community. Submission seems weak. Submission seems less than. But submission is a power word. There is no weakness in submission. It actually takes strength. And the Bible describes it as a strength. And think about it. In order for you to have any kind of success in anything, someone has to submit to someone. We are supposed to submit to our husbands as Christ has submitted to the church, right? So Christ, or as the church submits to Christ. So the church submits to the order and the organization of Christ. In the same way, a wife is to submit to the order and organization of the foundation of marriage. Do you want a successful marriage? Could you imagine if the people in the mailroom at Amazon decided to revolt? I mean, their job is important. Their job is to bring in the mail, sort the packages, and get it out to the people. Okay. Could you imagine if there was a revolution and the people in the mailroom decided we ain't about this life. We are better than sorting the mail. We're going to take down the CEO. We're going to be in charge. Could you imagine the anarchy in that? Can you? Well, that's what happened in the Garden of Eden. That's exactly what Eve did. Eve circumvented the system. She rebelled against the order and the authority. She didn't say, okay, Hassani, Adam is my husband. Let me go see about what this snake is saying. Let me go check in with my husband and see if this makes sense. Maybe we can collaborate and figure out, because that's what we're supposed to do. Submission is not me being a rug and whatever he says, yes, whatever you like. No, that's not submission. Submission is knowing proper order. That's why you have the CEO and then the CEO and all the C's, right? The C's come together and collab. That's why you have a board, so that the people can organize and collaborate and come up with thoughts and ideas that make sense to move the organization forward. It's the same thing with the foundation of your marriage. There is an order. And if you circumvent the order like Eve did and go and rebel and do your own thing, you bring down the entire institution. And that's what we're trying to avoid. The opposite of that is a strong foundation, a strong institution that represents God's kingdom here on the earth. It is a strong house, right? But you have to submit to order. So what that looks like, in each house, it looks different, right? Because we all have different roles. And submission, again, is not being a rug. That doesn't mean you don't have a voice and you don't express an opinion. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. as the Ether Connect do, because there are certain things that you see that they don't see, right? There are certain perspectives that you have that they don't have. So it's your job to bring those things to the table. How crazy would it be for you to see that your spouse is about to walk into a pit and be like, you gonna see, wait, watch, you were wrong. And then when they're wrong, you be like, I told you so, right? No, that's not our role. Our role is to bring up the case, bring up a point, bring up a different perspective. But at the end of the day, we submit to God and his authority. And the man is the head. Your husband is the head. Ooh, I'm scared about the comments. I don't know what people are going to be thinking. All right. So final thought on this. Okay. As a wife, you are a life giver. You are a life giver. And that goes without saying, right? How much do you need to say about that? You are the birther of children. You give birth to children, right? But you're so much more than that. I mean, you give birth to whatever seed your husband implants in you. So there's the physical side of it, which is you actually giving birth to a child. And then there is the spiritual side of it. You know, on the inverse of that, you can say that we are like a mirror, right? So whatever you give me, I'm going to reflect it back to you. So that's good, bad, and ugly, unfortunately. Now we have to manage that. But if you are sowing seed of vision in me as a wife, I'm going to catch that vision. Because how God does one thing is how he does everything, right? So in the same way that when you sow a seed into me physically, I become pregnant. And in 9 months, I'm going to take that little microscopic seed that you gave me. And inside my body, I'm going to nurture that seed. I'm going to feed that seed. I'm going to give my blood to that seed, my mind, my body, my spirit, everything to that seed. I'm going to take care of this baby. I'm going to grow. My body is going to expand to accommodate this vision that you instilled inside of me. And I'm going to be so careful to make sure that I don't eat crazy. I don't do anything wrong to harm this seed that you implanted in me. And then in 9 months, I'm going to birth this seed. I'm literally going to almost kill myself. I'm almost going to lose my life with pain and physical trauma to birth this seed that you gave me. Woo! I mean, that's strength. Wife, you are strong. You are a birther. You give life to vision, to purpose, to passion, to calling. But on the inverse, you can give birth to death, to destruction and devastation. All of it. The Bible says that life and death is in the power of your tongue. You have the ability to do both. But as a good wife, as the crown, as the helper, as the good thing, oh, you're going to birth some good things. When your husband says, I got this home for you. You walk into that home. It's a home. Hey, you know what I'm saying? Everything's there. You know, there's a pot, there's a pan, there's a fork. Hey, there's a couch. It's all there. But what are you going to do when you get up in there? You're going to hang drapes. You're going to coordinate things. You're going to sweep under the couch. The toilet going to be clean, sparkling. You are going to give life to that vision. I don't care what your husband gives you. You are going to give life, and you are going to birth something 10, 100, 1,000-fold of what he gave you. That's why you're a good thing. That's why God said it is not good for man to be alone. That is why, because with you're stronger as a pair. With you can fulfill God's purpose, which is to dominate, to subdue, and to multiply the image of the kingdom of God right here on earth. That's what we're here to do. So I hope you learned something. Next week, we'll be back. I don't know. I don't know if I can wait a whole week. We're going to see. I don't know. I might have to be coming on here more often than this so we can have these conversations more frequently. But next week, we're going to talk about specifically our roles. Like we just talked about what a wife is, right? But I want to go deeper into roles. So stay tuned for that. Look for the notifications. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. That way you won't miss a show. And if you know a wife, I know you know some wives. And you know, we all have sister wives, sister friends, and some of our wives, they need a check. You need to get them, pull them by the collar. They need to be sat down. You need to talk to them. Bring them to the next class every Sunday, 9 p.m. Love you guys, and I'll see you next week.
Yeah. She's on her way, on her way, on